Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates women leaders in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharron Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, based right here in New York. And each week I'll be talking to women leaders about their work, their triumphs and challenges, providing invaluable insight into how women can unlock their superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So whether you're navigating your own career path in bioscience or you're passionate about science and innovation, I hope you're empowered and inspired by each episode.
Today's guest didn't plan on running a biotech company. Sometimes the most meaningful paths are the ones we didn't set out to walk. What started as a short-term plan to help her dad's medical device startup turned into a 28-year journey that saw her grow with the company from its early cleanroom days to becoming its CEO. On the way, she navigated product evolution, massive industry shifts, and just a few months into her tenure as CEO, a global pandemic. Under her leadership, the company has scaled to nearly 200 employees, become a 2-time Top Workplace Award winner, and earned its place in the life-changing world of cell and gene therapy, manufacturing the single-use technologies that make CAR T and stem cell therapies possible. She brings honesty, empathy, and a fierce curiosity to the way she leads. And she's got a lot to teach us about what it means to grow a mission-driven company without losing its heart. So, please welcome CEO of OriGen Biomedical, Beth San Segundo.
Hey Beth,
Hi,
how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. How's your Friday panning out?
So far, so good. It's sunny and 90 degrees outside today.
Oh, for goodness sake. All I keep doing is speaking to people who are telling me how wonderful the weather is. And I'm freezing cold here in New York, and it's wet and it's drizzly and okay, well, never mind. And you're over in Texas, right?
Yeah, just call me in August. It'll be 110 here, and you'll be like, it is not 110 where you are.
Oh,
It'll be great.
yeah, no, yeah, I think that makes a big difference.
For sure.
Enough of the weather. We don't need to discuss that anymore. We're here to talk about you and your fascinating story. But where did it all start for you? Did this industry that you are in, did you pick it? Did it pick you?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of both. Let's see. So I was pre-med in college. While I was in college, my dad founded OriGen with a series of catheters used for a procedure called ECMO for heart cannulation for perfusion therapy. So your lungs aren't working, but your heart's doing great. So doing great is relative, but doing great. And so that is that procedure. And so I started working for him, building those in our clean room during college. While I was pre-med, I took the MCAT my final year of university and ultimately decided I did not want to immediately go into medical school. So I decided to work for him for a year immediately after college. And here I am, 28 years later. Isn't that so crazy? So it was not a linear journey. It wasn't like I just started and stayed and everything was great every single day. But overall, it was more great than not. And so throughout that adventure, here I am. So in 2003, we added the cryopreservation line. And at that point, the product was solely used for a bone marrow transplant or an umbilical cord blood transplant, based on the cell volumes for auto or allo therapies. And that was the market. So when we added that product in 2003, it was still considered niche, if you will, in terms of potential market, and who the competition was. In 2010, primary competition pulled out of the market in its entirety and told their customers to buy our product. So we had a very huge blue ocean moment, if you will, at that time. And so it was a really nice hockey stick of revenue, and we were very much able to keep up with demand and customer need. We're really excited to be a part of that industry and the life-changing therapies that the customers were providing through bone marrow transplants across the world. And then In 2017, the first CAR T therapy was approved on market in the US, and we have been fortunate to participate in that industry and to be a part of that and a part of that growth. And so since then, there's over, I think their last number I saw was about 3,000 clinical trials in cell and gene therapy. And we aren't a part of all of those, but it is a significant and inspiring thing to be a part of. When I get the pleasure of telling people what I do after I fully explain it, because sometimes they're like, you do what and what? You used words, please explain them more. So after I get through that, I get to tell them how my products actually are used to save lives and how people will get to walk away from cancer in a durable remission. And I'm really proud of that.
Incredible. Incredible. Whilst you've been with the company for so long, there's been movement, and you've really been an integral part of its growth and to where you are now as the CEO. I think you became the CEO just as COVID started, was it? Or was it during COVID?
Just before I took over in April of 2019, we were having some internal supply chain issues and then COVID.
Whee! Yay! So baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Of course. But what was that period like for you?
COVID? COVID was hell.
Really? I thought it was a breeze. Maybe I just drank more vodka than you did, so it didn't affect me quite so much. Yeah, it was hell for all of us, wasn't it? But that period of just becoming the CEO, maybe we should backtrack because
Sure.
you started on the floor, so to speak, didn't you?
I did. So, yes, to backtrack, I was the third employee. We now have almost 200. And so there's been a significant amount of growth between then and now. And yes, I have been integral and participated in all of that. My father did found the company. I now run a family owned business. So there is that piece of the puzzle of, oh, she must have been handed it. And I can adamantly say that isn't actually the case. We had in 2000, somewhere around 2010, we had a really honest conversation about what it would mean for me to take over and run the company, what that would look like, what his expectations were, what my expectations were, and really spent the next 6 years putting all of those pieces in place, or however long it was. I guess it was 9 years. Because he was going to retire in 5, and then it was 5, and then it was 5. So we just kept kicking the football, if you will. And so putting all of those
Time to learn.
Yes. You need more. Not ready. No, yeah, he was not ready. And that's okay. It's hard to be ready to let go of the thing. And I really have learned a lot watching my dad transition to retirement and to a seat on the board, from having my seat and making all the decisions to where he is now and how difficult that has been for him to let go. But that's a different podcast.
Fathers and how they don't want to let go. We'll do a new one on that. I'm pretty sure it'll be popular.
Would be, wouldn't it? So we had the conversation in 2010. In 2011, I went back to school and I got my MBA. I intentionally picked a school that would let me specialize in the type of classes I could take. So some MBAs are just a straight, here's your classes. I wanted something where I could have a little bit more flex. And the reason is because I already knew this is the role I'm doing. And I wanted to ask the questions of professors that would give me the best information to do this. And so I really found that, and it was really a great program. I found as I was in the classes, I'd bring my problem solving to work, and people could you please stop? And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. So there's sorry, not sorry. No, we're going to solve this problem. And really, so I finished my MBA and then, had twins and then took over the company. So here we are.
So overachiever. So where my question was regarding COVID, was how that time was for you.
Oh, you did ask that
and
question.
And here we are. Was the bit. And the biz, not how much did you enjoy COVID or what did you get through COVID, but how was that transition period dealing with a global pandemic and taking the reins of a company with your father, no doubt, sitting there going, okay, what you going to do about this?
Yeah.
How was that?
So I guess I should back up. So when he retired, what that meant was he had another desk in my office. I'm not joking. So, like, we shared an office for, like, the first 6-ish months of me running the company, which meant people would come into my office and, like, take a breath and pause, realize he was in here and be like, "Maybe I should just email this to you." And so it it was awkward. So I was the one who had to initiate "I'm sorry, you have to leave my office." And so he did, and he moved down the hall. And so it was actually really hard to ask him. It was really hard for him to be down the hall. But then COVID hit, and he was like, "I'm just going to work from home." And that actually worked out great. Because he was actually still doing things. We'd given him special projects. And so because his background is engineering and he has a ton of experience in medical and device engineering, we were utilizing his expertise. He was just no longer running the company. And so it was awkward. So then COVID hits, and, there's days of like, are we essential? Aren't we essential? What is essential? What does that mean? Reading the edicts as they're coming out and rolling down. It feels very trendy to what we're doing these days with tariffs. But anyway, so reading all of these things and just trying to understand moment by moment what is gonna happen and what I'm allowed to do and what I have to do. And then also, what does that communication look like for the employees? Plus, I'm new at this. And so getting my team to be on Team Beth and really understand what that meant under this new world of Beth is now CEO and I am running this problem, and my dad is running special projects. So if you're working on one of those things with him, go talk to him. But otherwise, Richard is out of the building. So on the day that this is why I always say it was hell. On the day that we shuttered, I'm now at home running a company. My husband's now at home running a high school, and I have 2 4-year-old twins, and we lost our damn minds. So it was whoa. Vodka. What gets you through? I mean, for sure. So, so there are any number of conference calls that I'm having trying to figure out how to get medical supplies to mask my employees, trying to figure out if we can make PPE that would make sense to have in the clean room, because again, I'm making medical devices and you don't want particulate in the clean room, but you also want people to feel safe, like they can work in the clean room. And so what does that look like? What's our best alternative? And so we did a lot of best alternatives, especially in early days when you're spending like $10 per mask per person. And how long can they wear that? And can they wear it their whole shift, or can they only wear it for the first part of the shift? And then what is it? And so, and realizing that we're making medical devices, but there are people who can't get this in hospitals and they need it more. And so it's just one of those understanding where we fell in the hierarchy of need, but then also the fact that our patients matter too. And so, plus all of the communication with our internal employees who were terrified because their understanding of vaccines don't exist, but their understanding of viruses, they have to work in clean room spaces. We did an education on how clean rooms work. Our employees, that work in the clean room didn't necessarily understand the air handling and all of the air exchanges. So the air changes, I think, 7 times an hour in the clean room. I think I'm pretty sure that's right. And so really, your potential of sitting 2 feet away from someone and actually catching something from them is nil because of how the air handling works. But when you go eat lunch, go sit in your car. It's kind of one of those, don't, so the 6 feet when you're not in the clean room, but be in the clean room and be near each other. And so that was very confusing. We did a lot of messaging and just reminding people how they're protecting themselves. And we had 0 transmission from any employees in the clean room.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So at least we had data to back that up, but it was stressful. Really, and and I had to do that all remotely and we only had the people in the building who had to be here. And if you didn't have to be here and you could do your job from home, do it. So we minimized the personnel as well.
Right. Wow, is all I can say to that.
Yeah.
So
that's why I said it was hell.
To building is not the. What would you, looking back on it now, what is it, 5 years? 5 years now, looking back on that 5 years, what do you make of the reality of it now? Do you think if you had known then what it was going to be and what based on what you know now, do you think you would have gone, Dad, you could just sit back in your chair?
No, I would have done it. There's obviously decisions that you make that you're like, well, we could have, pivoted 20% on that or whatever. But at the end of the day, you make your best decision at the time that it is. And I I like to, I have two phrases I'm most known for saying here. One is it's going to be great ahead of the problem we're going to solve. And two, we can do hard things. And so really COVID was a really nice reminder that we can do hard things. And so as new challenges and new things have stepped in, my team is really adept at problem solving now. And so we do that.
Tell me what it is that you do. As you said, you're very proud to tell people what you do.
Sure.
What does the company? What do you do?
What do I do? So for my non-science friends, I tell them I make Tupperware for stem cells. So I make single-use disposables for cell and gene therapy. I make bags for cell culture, storage, and cryopreservation of cells that are then used to treat leukemias, lymphomas, autoimmune disorders. There's some really neat technologies working on solid tissues as well. And so we participate in that in the eradication of cancer. That's what I do. Thanks.
Impressive. So, what does the future of the company look? Where are you at now with its stage? Because the company's winning awards, top place to be 2023, top place to be 2024. There's no mean feat to do. What's your vision? What's Beth's vision for the company moving forward?
Yeah, so I really want to keep doing what we're doing. I like to go out to the trade shows, see what our customers are up to, see what they're excited about, ensure that we have what they need to do what they're going to do, and then also looking at kind of new and emerging markets within the cell therapy space and what are people excited about? What are we talking about? So
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, isn't there, in
there is.
the cell therapy space, and I think once they get the little nooks and crannies sort of sorted out in some of the areas, then again it will move forward, and it fascinates me because for so long I just to me that this was the stuff of Arnold Schwarzenegger and make believe, and oh, look what Hollywood has come up with now. How fascinating. That's never going to happen, but it has, and it's here, and it's even more than I think people thought.
Yeah, we don't. So they're not actually a customer, but Luxturna and what they do and what they've been doing in restoring pediatric, like a pediatric anomaly that causes blindness, and really just the ability to change someone's life permanently for the better is phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't even know the words really to say that ultimately the work I'm involved in does this and saves people's lives. The work that I'm involved in could get somebody their dream job.
But that's also really good. You mentioned that we're, top workplaces for 2 years in a row, and I'm actually really proud of that because what it means is the people that are here want to be here. They're excited to be here. They're excited to think through the problems and the tasks that are asked of them and to do their best at it. So I'm really that's really important to me as a leader, that people feel fulfilled and understand what they're doing and are able to do what they need to do to make themselves feel fulfilled, but also to really make a difference in the world.
It's funny because another guest that I was talking to recently, strangely enough, is also in the CGT field, but her company is just sort of starting its growth, and she was saying how important of having the people, and the reason why they feel that they've got as far as they have in just a short period of time is because of that dedication and commitment by the people that make up the team. And we were talking about the difference between skill and the skill set and experience versus the passion and the commitment, and how a lot of companies, particularly at the sort of leadership level, feel that, we need, if we're going to get a COO or we're going to get a CFO, we need somebody who's got the chops. They've come from this huge company, or they've done this, they've proven these numbers, as opposed to where the real people come from are the ones that have got the passion for the mission, so to speak, and who are prepared to go that extra mile and who believe that the unbelievable can be achieved. That kind of trumps the experience. Is that
Does that resonate with you?
If I think the passion trumps the experience, but it's certainly like, I think the third facet to that for me is really they're empowered because they can have both of those things. But then if you just tell them no, then they're just going to quit. They're going to quit trying. They won't necessarily quit their job, but they're going to quit trying to push boundaries and push you to be better or provide the company to be better. And so I think, I don't know if I think that passion trumps experience per se, but I think passion can drive you in such a way that you want to know more and you want to think about this problem and you want to iterate on it and like, how do I get to where I need to be? How do I make this thing fix? How do I get this thing fixed? And really, like, I think that piece of the puzzle is different than just knowing. Because honestly, often if you just know and you read it in a book, then you're not really going to think about it. You're not going to try and problem solve around it. You're like, well, I already know that 2 + 2 is 4. Why would I try to figure out why? Why would I? Yeah, why would I try? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't need to put the brain power into that.
right.
I mean, I think in terms of the experience, it's more about, let's say you have two people. One person has been there, seen it, done it, read the book, worn the T-shirt, has been, number one in Pfizer or whoever top pharma company is in wherever. And then person number two has the knowledge and has the skill set, but maybe doesn't have the chops that the person number one has. They haven't been there, seen it, done it all. They've still got things to prove.
Right.
But that's part of the drive and the passion to do that comes from, I don't know it all. Whereas in some companies, it's felt we want somebody who knows it all. And when you have somebody who knows it all, it's a bit like you've just said, I know 2 and 2 is 4. So why do I need to go that extra mile to see why 2 and 2 is 4? Whereas somebody with perhaps who does know it, but hasn't proved the hypotheses 1,000 times, they still have that kind of passion and curiosity and drive and desire to question it and bring out a different outcome.
Yeah. I think the other piece is I have both of those. And I think seeing the person who wants to prove it, have a conversation with the person who just knows it is a really interesting push forward as well. Because the person who wants to understand the why versus the one who's like, well, I already know this, they pull each other forward and think about problems in new ways. And so I think there's space really for both of those, as long as they're both curious. You can have someone who knows things, but if they're not curious, then they're not going anywhere. But if curiosity exists, then they're absolutely going to push boundaries and ask questions and not just accept status quo. And that's been something we've really had to push for here because as we've continued to scale, as we've continued to grow, getting from, 50 people to 100 changes your culture. Getting from 100 to 200 changes your culture. And really just getting from how do you keep that? And how do you keep that curiosity? And then I think part of it was also because I was, we'll go with regime change, because it was new. It was very military. It doesn't it? Well, my dad was Air Force, so what were they about? Yeah, so we'll go with regime change. So I was willing to ask every question and turn over every rock. So when the curious brought me questions, I was like, I don't know, let's figure that out. And so when the uncurious brought me problems, I'm like, well, let's figure it out. And really in those early days, we had some internal supply chain issues in 2019 that I took over. And we really just started turning over all the rocks. I'm like, let's see what's on the other side. Let's figure it out. Let's see if we can understand why 2 + 2 is 4. And the team, I think the team really bonded over that. And then COVID happened and we're like, all right, let's figure this out. And so then we bond, and then it really the team gets tighter and tighter, the harder they have to work to solve things and persevere through hard things. And so really I was talking to my director of engineering the other day, and he is the person when I tell him the thing I want to do, he will tell me the first 10 reasons it's going to fail. And so his immediate response is, here's how it's going to fail. Now, he and I have worked together for almost 16 years. And so I know he's going to do this, but I also know he's going to solve all of those 10 things. He's going to come back and actually figure out why all 10 things will fail. And then we won't have those 10 things fail. 11 might. Remember, 11 might, but those 10 won't. And so like, but I know that. And then I know I've also got my person who's like, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to jump in and we're going to see what happens. And I was like, well, maybe we should, let's be balanced about the jumping. Right. And so it's been really good to just see my team excel at doing the thing they are best at. And I'm really, really proud of all of them for that.
Would you say that your team has learned or what they've benefited from your leadership and your leadership style that maybe was different?
Yeah.
Is obviously it's different to the style of the earlier regime.
It's like the new regime. Yeah, for sure. I have been told by several of them that I lead with empathy. I always assume they're a whole person who has a whole life outside of OriGen, and then they have to bring their whole self to work. So if they have had the worst morning of their life because, I don't know, they got a flat tire or someone rear-ended them at a fight with their spouse or whatever, at the end of the day, like they still have to bring themselves to work and problem solve. They don't get to just dwell in the bad mood. And so part of that is when one of my meeting tenets is we do best and best. And I was like, I want to know the best personal and the best work thing that's happened in the last week. And it can be the least worst. So if you have had a terrible week, it can just tell me what's at the top of the crap pile. I'll take that. And so really, like, I think that one of them referred to it recently as our kumbaya part of the meeting. And I was like, you got it. That's what we're doing. And so really, again, like I think it's a nice reminder to everyone that we are all a person. We're a whole person who has a whole life, and this isn't all of it, but that we all need to bring our best foot forward. And so we need to celebrate our wins, even when our wins are on the top of the crap pile. And so they've done a really good job of that. But then they also know that I'm going to ask about them. Like, I want to know what they did over the weekend. I want to know if they, I want to know their lives so that I can know when things fall off the rails. And some will tell me more than others, and that's fine. Like, I don't need to know everything about a person to know how they're doing. I'm okay with boundaries, to be super clear. Like, but and so there are some who have pretty clear boundaries. They're like, oh, I saw my granddaughter this week. I'm like, great, super, fantastic. But, it's just one of those, like, was it a good weekend? Was it a bad weekend? Are we at where are we landing? And
Where are we starting the week from? Do you think is that a Beth thing, or is it because you're a woman that you bring that extra thing, or is it a combination of the two?
To be fair, I did get it from a woman. So I guess maybe it's a woman thing. I don't know. I don't
Think about the old administration. I think I'm going to go with administration, not with regime.
I like it.
The old administration, would there be an interest in people's outside? I think it probably is a bit of a woman thing, right? That brings, as well as obviously that you've implemented it.
It is, but I also have women on my team who are part of the, like, I have a line. We're not going past, like, I saw my granddaughter. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything else. And that's okay. Like, I have people who draw those lines. And so I think it probably actually is. It's probably a female and also a Beth thing, because I want people to be known if they want to be. And, part of that is I have a few who have aging parents. And so they've given me some information. And I'm like, you just have to text, like, hey, I'll be gone the rest of this day. Like, you don't have to tell me anything. I don't need to know any specifics. Just, hey, I'm out the rest of this day. And, like, no questions asked. It's fine. But the other side of that coin is I know when that person comes to work, I'm getting their best self because they know they have the freedom to be them.
Yep.
And so I think
that's how the team continues to evolve and everything together, right?
Yep.
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 Fantastic. So having done all of this and all of the trials and tribulations and everything that I can see that you wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to, let's go with a young woman, thought pre-med, thought I'd do this, thought I'll step into, I'm going to come into the family business for, just for the summer semester or something like that. What advice would you give them if they were then presented with this opportunity to continue on with the company or take their own path?
I think really my answer is stay curious. Like, stay open to options, stay open to opportunities, and stay with the thing that sounds so cliche, but just like stay with that which brings you joy. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be doing this for a long, long time. You can always pivot your career, you can always find your next thing. But I think the curiosity brings passion, and that passion brings success. As long as, yeah, you just keep going. Just keep going. Okay?
Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you continued success and continued growth. Is there new things in the pipeline that are coming through that you can talk about, or is it wait and see?
We are working on a couple of different products, but they are at this point wait and see.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to being on the in to hear about those as and when you're able to. Have a fabulous weekend in the sunshine. Not at all jealous, of course.
Right.
And, I hope our paths cross again. If you're ever in New York, do look me up and we can grab a vodka and discuss COVID. I've got all stories to tell from that one. And if I'm ever over back in Texas again, then it would be lovely to catch up and meet in person. All right. Take good care. Nice to have met you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm based in New York. If you're looking to hire talent for your company or want support in achieving your career goals, please reach out to me at contact@cnaint.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And remember, the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. So don't be afraid to share yours. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.